Hello everyone. Today I would like to analyze and talk about why Saudi Arabia and Yemen have once again resumed hostilities. Over the past few years, the parties have repeatedly concluded various ceasefire agreements, the opening of ports and Sana'a airport, as well as the gradual removal of restrictions. But the final peace treaty was never signed. Restrictions were partially eased, but full air and sea communication with territories controlled by the Ansar Allah movement was not restored. As a result, for several years the parties were in a state that can be described as neither war nor peace. Ansar Allah continued to accuse Saudi Arabia of blockading Yemen. The Saudi side in turn stated that the restrictions were necessary to prevent the supply of Iranian weapons, and the responsibility for the continuation of the crisis lies with the Houthis themselves. However, on July 13th, everything changed abruptly. Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes on Sana'a International Airport to prevent the landing of a Mair Airways civilian aircraft. As a result of the strikes, the runway was damaged. The Houthis stated that they regard the strikes on Sana'a Airport as a de facto declaration of war by Riyadh. Following this, Ansar Allah launched missile and drone strikes against targets on the territory of Saudi Arabia. Then, in the Red Sea, the Houthis destroyed two oil tankers, Ansalya and Layla, carrying Saudi oil. In addition, the movement announced the introduction of a maritime blockade of Saudi Arabia. The Houthis stated that they would not allow ships to enter Saudi ports, exit from them, or load or unload goods there. An Ansar Allah representative characterized this decision with the words blockade in response to the blockade. As a result, the Houthis managed to seriously disrupt the movement of ships associated with Saudi ports. Shipping through Bab el-Mandeb has dropped sharply. Strikes on oil infrastructure also led to the shutdown of the Jizan refinery and disruptions in fuel supplies. Saudi Arabia, for its part, continues to launch airstrikes on Houthi positions in Hodeidah, Marib, and Al Jauf. At the same time, Saudi-backed Yemeni forces began offensive operations and were able to advance in several areas. Thus, the local exchange of strikes in just a few days escalated into a serious resumption of the Saudi-Yemeni conflict, simultaneously in the air, on the ground, and in the Red Sea. In principle, there is only one step left before returning to a full-scale war of the 2015 model, for Saudi Arabia to directly introduce its ground troops into Yemen, and for the Ansar Allah forces to launch an offensive on Saudi territory. If this happens, the current escalation will finally grow into a new big war. Well, for now it's something like that. Thank you and subscribe.